Barbarian is the new sleeper hit horror movie that was released in September, and just recently it was released on HBO Max. It's a movie that I personally think is one of the best horror movies to come out this year, and it really showcases how you can do horror without relying on unnecessary jump scares and gore and all that unnecessary stuff. Barbarian is a perfect example of how to do horror right. Let's talk about it. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right down there so you don't miss out on the releases of our future movies and short films, as well as videos of me talking about movies. Also, make sure you watch our award-winning second feature-length film, The Hollywood Dream. You can click right there at the top right corner to watch right now. But yeah, let's get started. Now let's talk about the cinematography and the score. Now the cinematography and the score really help build the atmosphere for this movie. The filmmakers decided to use a lot of camera movements to emphasize objects that are crucial to the storyline, as well as blocking the shot so in the background you can see subtle things that happen in the story that the characters don't see or don't encounter just yet. On top of that, the score blends so perfectly with what the scene is portraying, as well as what the atmosphere is trying to be. The score is just amazing. So if you're a cinematographer out there, you should really study how they blocked this whole movie. Every shot, how they blocked it, how it enhances the engagement of the audiences. Because they are looking not just at the actors portraying the characters, but also what is going on in the background, also what is going on in the entire scene. The mise-en-scène is being studied when the audience is watching it. And that's good. That's how you keep engagement going. So yeah, like I said before, Barbarian builds its atmosphere and suspense. The first 40 minutes of this movie, you don't encounter the mother, and the horror doesn't really pick up until the 40-minute mark. So for the 40 minutes, it is Tess and Keith interacting with each other and establishing the characters, establishing the house, establishing the neighborhood, establishing the horrific thing that they're about to encounter. The film is pretty confident in keeping the viewer's retention, keeping the viewers engaged for the 40-minute mark, because the story is really intriguing. Even then, at the 40-minute mark, when Tess finally sees the creature, the mother, and unfortunately when Keith dies, after that it cuts to AJ, and so the audience is like, yo, hold up, we need to see more of this. The filmmakers is like, yeah, you'll see more of it, but now we have to focus on AJ's storyline leading up to that. And on top of that, it's a classic Hitchcock technique where when you follow AJ's storyline, you feel suspense for AJ and you feel the suspense of what's about to happen to him, especially when he starts measuring the basement. So that's good editing as well as good writing right there. Subverting expectations. Let's talk about the characters Keith and AJ, because the casting choice plays a very big role in the viewer's expectations. So Keith is played by Bill Skarsgård, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I don't know. But he also played Pennywise in It. So for horror fans and for casual fans, people recognize or identify him as the antagonist in horror movies. And he plays Keith, who is the first other character we see besides Tess. And his introduction and his situation is very suspect, very sketchy. It's a stranger that double booked the Airbnb with Tess. And automatically, the viewers is already suspicious of Keith. On top of that, how Keith is filmed is almost like he's the antagonist. Wide shots when Tess isn't looking, as well as shots of him just sitting there still, as well as the scene when they're sleeping and Keith is having a bad dream. On top of that, the scene where Keith cries for help, the audiences and Tess kind of think, okay, Keith is probably faking this, because we see that cliche played out in various horror movies with this same kind of premise. And I read in interviews by the writer and director Zach Kreger, where he said that he took as many red flags as he could when it came to sketchy, suspicious men and put it all in Keith's scenes with Tess. So that also gives off the suspicious vibe for Tess and for the audiences too. But in the end, our expectations were subverted because Keith was genuinely a good guy that died. And then let's talk about Justin Long as AJ. He, in horror movies and movies in general, he's typically casted as the good guy, as the main morally good protagonist. So when he's introduced in this movie, we see him, riding his car, singing along to some of his favorite music, until he gets the call from Hollywood executives saying, hey bro, you've been accused of sexually assaulting an actress. And of course, he denies it, but it's later revealed when he's with his friend at the bar after saying the F word that, yeah, he kind of did some convincing to sleep with this actress. So revealing that, yes, he in fact isn't morally good. You know what I mean? So anyway, the point is that we as the audience expected him to play the good guy, the one that will help Tess from this mother character. But in reality, he's not really that good of a person. And this is proven at the end of the movie when AJ, when he claims he wasn't thinking, threw Tess off of the water building. There was a 50-50 chance Tess would have died, you know? Luckily, Tess survived, but, you know, it just kind of proves AJ's character morality rate in that moment as well. So once again, it is just brilliant casting from the casting director to cast these two people in opposite roles. And finally, let's talk about the jump scares. The jump scares in this movie was carefully placed throughout the movie. It is mainly done in the basement scenes because in the scenes where they're outside or anything, it's not really that jump scary, which makes sense in this context, and it should make sense in every horror movie. There shouldn't be a jump scare everywhere. But yeah, the basement scenes, the fact that it's also pitch black, and whenever the monster appears, I shouldn't say the monster, whenever the mother appears, the flashlight or whatever, like you vividly see the mother. And it's kind of like a strobe light effect, and that's also really well done. It helps the viewers not really see the thing that's scary, but also see the thing that's scary. But yeah, anyway, the jump scares were brilliant. But yeah, overall, this movie is one of the best movies to come out in this horror genre. And yeah, it's the best horror movie to come out in 2022. I'm really excited to see where Zach goes from here, as well as the cast of the film, as well as everyone involved with this film. I think everyone did their part perfectly. It's a well-made movie, really great storytelling, really great cinematography and score, really great performances, and a clever way of casting characters in roles. Keep that in mind as well. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you watched this video because I just spoiled everything. But yeah, it's on HBO Max. You can go watch it on there. And let me know what you guys think about the movie. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a nice day.
You are watching a masterpiece.